For more funny Askreddit stories, please subscribe and like the video. Lawyers of Reddit, what are the most interesting things people have included in wills that you've seen? Not a lawyer, but my buddy is one. Couple months ago he said an older lady had asked him to include something quite peculiar. She had left the instructions for her family to decorate the family Christmas tree. The weird thing was that on her daughter-in-law was the only one to put ornaments on the tree, and her granddaughter was supposed to put the star on top. After she had passed about a week later, he read the will to the family and a bunch of drama followed. Pretty weird will, if you ask me. Worked in a place that did wills and trusts. One guy put aside a bunch of money to split between any of his former girlfriends that came to his funeral. Not a lawyer, but I administered trusts and estates for 35 years with a large national bank. I had one trust where the truster left a ton of money to her grandkids. They got all the income from trust assets over the years, and the trusts fully distributed to them at age 35. Except for one grandson. He was gay and a particular individual was held responsible for turning him that way. As trustee, we had verify that he was not in contact with his ex-lover once each year. If he was found to be in contact with him, his funds would be withheld for the following year until he could prove he was no longer seeing the guy. If he ever formed what seemed like a lasting relationship with the guy again, his trust would be shut down and the funds distributed to the trusts of the other grandkids. We used to just get a signed statement from the kid each year, and that was enough for the probate court to approve the annual accounting for the trust and the further disbursement of funds. After a few years, courts started approving negating trust provisions that seemed ridiculous for a trustee to have to adhere to. So, the beneficiary and the bank went to court, and we asked that the provision no longer be followed. The judge agreed that it was too much control from the grave and let the provision be struck down. Not a lawyer, but a quite wealthy man had willed specific rooms in his mansion. That is, the house was not to be sold or inherited, but designated people were given use of specific rooms for their lifetime. Someone's EVE Online account. It was worth thousands apparently. He had no family, so he willed it to one of his friends, and one of his other friends threw a fit. Two grown-ass men fighting over an online game account. Found out a couple of years later, friend 2 turned in friend 1 to the online game police and the account got taken away or something. Apparently terms of service violation or something. My cousin is a lawyer, and apparently one guy grows out his beard all year long before shaving it on New Year's Day and saves it in a bag with the year written on it. He has on his will that certain years go to certain grandkids because that was the year they were born, got married, etc. The rest are to be raffled off equally to all of his descendants. Paralegal here. Saw a will where the decedent left properties to her daughters-in-law as long as they were still married to her sons. I always wanted to know the story as to why not the sons directly. This has not happened yet, but my grandma told me about it. She's still alive. I'm 41. She told me a few years ago that she's left me her eyes in her will. I have pretty bad eyes, but am able to see with contacts. I'm not a candidate for LASIK because my corneas are too thin. I'm super honored that she would think of me in that way, but I'm really creeped out by thinking that I'm going to get a call after she passes asking me what to do with them. This lady included a clause in her will stating that one of her 3 daughters wasn't allowed to get anything in the will and to read the letter that was annexed to the will to find out why. I never got to see the letter since I'm the paralegal, but I thought it was super odd. Here's an answer that won't be popular, but is often the case. Absolutely nothing interesting. In my jurisdiction, there's very little room to be interesting or adventurous. People aren't allowed to control others' lives from the grave. The will is to deal with the person's property. Any games etc. will usually be of no effect, and any executor who would try to do so at the wishes of the deceased would likely find themselves replaced. With that aside, the most interesting is just parents leaving their children out of the will or creating testamentary trusts to avoid people they don't want taking an interest. Spoke to a lawyer recently to work out some things related to wills. They said they're getting an increasing number of requests where lawyers are given the names and passwords to people's online accounts to social media and gaming platforms to let their online friends know they have passed on. shut the accounts down, and if the accounts have anything of value, to hand that out to remaining friends. Not a lawyer. I've recently learned that two adults can get married. They can have separate finances for the majority of their relationship. One can have children from a previous relationship. One can get dementia. They can combine finances in the last year of their relationship because of said dementia, and at the insistence of the non-dementia party. They can have a will that's discussed with the children previous to the death. And then the one with dementia can die, and everything he has can go to his wife, and she can deny there's a will, and that's that, and everyone else is completely fucked. Said this story about a year ago on similar question, but I'll post again, it's a good one. Not a lawyer, but my grandpa put in his will a chocolate bar for every one of his grandkids. Well, I have like 12 cousins and very difficult to track down where a couple of them went. All this estates and money he had in will was at a standstill for months because they couldn't find my couple cousins. Had to show court we put in effort to hire someone to track them down, etc. The lawyer that was helping execute the will was blown away that this lawyer allowed this and why he wouldn't highly suggest not to do it. But I'm not complaining cause I got a Toblerone out of the deal. Side note, when you see the bear in the Toblerone logo, you'll never not see it.